Hi guys. So, in the crazy life that is mine, whatever. I'm so tired I can barely even think straight. But so here is an update or a story time or whatever from the last day and a half. Yesterday, I went out for a moped ride after a little bit of a long day, and so I didn't get any of my notifications on my phone until I got home. And as I got home, I got a notification from my mom saying that my grandmother, she's 99, and I think I have shared about her a little bit. She was World War II. She worked for the government, picking rubies out to use for the sights and the guns or whatever. Anyway, that's not part of this story today. So she's doing really well. I mean, she's 99, still lives on her own. Of course, we stop in several times a day and check on her. We have some safety precautions in place. She has a few Alexas around that she knows how to use, and so she knows how to communicate through them with other family members without having to get up and get a phone. We also have secret cameras in her house to monitor her. She's not aware of it, but it's just for safety precautions if she falls, if whatever. And yesterday it paid off. She did have a pretty nasty fall, and we didn't see the fall, but when my mom and my aunt went to check in on her, they saw that she was laying on the floor. And because there's a delay in the cameras, they couldn't tell if she was moving or if she'd passed out. They couldn't tell what was going on. And so they went rushing over there, and as they got there, I'm just going to put this on a stand because it's a little easier for me to deal with. So as they got over there, they realized that she'd had a bad fall. She was in a lot of pain. She was crying out, and called 911, and the ambulance guys were fantastic. We have volunteer fire departments around here, so that's a lucky thing. We don't have to pay for the fire department or the ambulances that show up. But the unlucky thing is that our hospital is so far away. It's an hour by regular traffic. It probably takes the ambulance maybe 35 to 40 minutes with sirens and people pulling over. So this all happened around, probably the fall was around 5:30. By the time everything was getting going, it was about 6:30 in the afternoon. My mom went in the ambulance with my grandma, and my aunt followed behind, and I met them over there. And she was complaining severely about pain in her shoulder, and it was clearly wasn't right. The ambulance guys thought maybe it was displaced or whatever when it pops out. Anyway, so Southampton Hospital, which I'm sorry, but never go to Southampton Hospital. They suck. Absolutely, they suck. So now, like, just for a little bit of background information, a little over a month ago, my grandmother was also at the hospital for a separate matter. Not quite as, it really wasn't as bad as this one. She was constipated, so she had to go to the hospital. Anyway, when she was at the hospital that time, she got herself so upset that she literally gave herself a minor heart attack. So she had this, it's called a pulmonary effusion or something like that. So she had given herself a minor heart attack. And because of that, she's on blood thinners. Now, when you go into a hospital and somebody knows that you're on blood thinners, they're supposed to do a CAT scan of your head or a scan of your head of some sort to make sure that that fall didn't cause a brain bleed. And in questioning her, they did indeed confirm that she did hit her head. She actually cut her mouth. There were cuts inside of her mouth where she fell. We're not really sure how the fall transpired, but it was enough to know that she did hit somewhere in her face, and her neck was severely painful, and then this severe pain in her shoulder. So they never gave her an IV. They didn't check her out neurologically at all, despite the fact that we were telling them that she didn't seem right. And they took an x-ray which showed a humerus head fracture. So there was a fracture between this bone and the ball in her shoulder, and it was displaced. It was not in place. That's what the radiologist report said. The doctor that would have been on call read the report from home and decided that my grandmother, since it was a straight break, he called it, was fit enough to go home without a cast or any further medical attention. They gave her Tylenol by mouth. They did not even give her any IV. They did not check her out her head. They didn't check out her neck. They took an x-ray of her shoulder, of her chest, and of her hips. Despite the fact that she said, my hips don't hurt, my hips don't hurt, my neck hurts, my head hurts, my shoulder hurts. We were not given a patient's bill of rights, so I do think that there's some legal stuff going on here, but I digress. There's a whole lot more to this story. I'm probably going to have to do a part 2. So they wouldn't let us all in. They were supposed to only let one of us in at a time, despite the fact that my grandmother was in a big, giant room to herself. And so one of us was allowed in at a time. And as they announced to my mom that they were planning on discharging her, I quickly pulled up the patient's bill of rights, because I know on my phone, I know from when my dad was in the hospital that they can't discharge a patient who can't go home and take care of themselves. And we explained multiple times that she lives alone and she uses a walker to get around. It's a wheeled walker, but she needs 2 hands. So if her arm is in a sling, that's it. They gave her this tiny little flimsy blue sling that is like literally like as much as a bed sheet. That's it. And sent her on her merry way. My mom was trying to say, listen, I really don't think that she's okay to go home. How are we going to get her in the house? How are we going to lift her? How are we going to get her into her bed? She has to be lifted. Her legs were not even strong enough to support herself. And they were in such a hurry to get her out of there that they literally discharged her in the hospital gown. That was like 5 sizes too big. They didn't even put her own clothes back on her. My mom had to beg them to like help get her clothes over the hospital gown because they were pushing her out so fast. They got her out to my aunt's car, and my mom kept saying, isn't there a patient advocate? The head nurse kept saying, nope, I'm the head nurse. She has to go home. There's nothing more we can do for her. And we're like, how are we supposed to do this? We can't do this. All right, I'm going to have to make a part 2. And I'm sorry it's so long, but that's what I am. Get used to it. I make long ones. Wait for part 2.